Firstly, thank you all very much for coming today. It's really amazing to see so many of you here, many of the councillors, the leader of the council, people who the MP, Gareth Thomas was planning to come, but unfortunately wasn't able to, Naveen Shah, and many others, local interfaith and faith leaders from across the borough. It's really great to see people come here and give us the opportunity to talk about what we do here and for you to find out more about our institution and the work that we do. I thought that as part of this program, we thought it would be a great opportunity to just share some of the things that we do here so you can see what mosques do, or what this mosque in particular does. And we do run a range of regular programs all the time, every week. From our core programs, which include a Friday evening program, which we'll talk about in a second, a Sunday school with about 80 to 100 young children, yoga classes, football, and a range of other sort of supplication and prayer programs, which take place on Thursday evenings and on Sunday mornings, early in the morning, around 6:30, we have prayers, we have a meeting about the Salam Center, the big project that we have over here. And then we have an understanding or description, a commentary on the Quran itself. But that's only our core programs. We do a lot of other things trying to work with the wider society. We work, for example, if you could go back to the previous slide, sorry. We work with many other communities, as you can see. We work with our local, in Harrow, there are about 25,000 Muslims. There are about 4 or 5 big mosques. In Stanmore, you have a big mosque. In Harrow, or down the road, you have a very nice mosque as well. And we work very closely with all the mosques in the area. We also work very closely with the local Christian and Jewish organizations, the churches and synagogues in different ways. And we'll talk about more of them later. So you go to the next slide. The type of people we try and bring here to give talks on our Friday evening programs are really diverse. From across the world, we've had people who've come and spoken to us. If you go to the next slide, those cover a range of different topics which are trying to challenge us in the way we think. You go to the next slide. These are just, it's just to give an idea of the types of different people who come from all these different ranges, whether it's academics, whether it's scholars, whether it's media and politicians, whether it's human rights activists, whether it's religious leaders in the UK. All of them, as well as diverse conferences, we have very, very different types of people who try and come here because we want to try and challenge ourselves to be the best that we can be as citizens, as Muslim citizens, as British citizens here in the country. But lectures form one part of our history. We started here in the sort of 1970s, where we established our first Sunday school. It was one of the first Sunday schools in the area, and now there are many others out there. We started our regular programs in the early 80s, and all of our programs have been in English from a very, very early stage. And obviously that's really important because we want to ensure that whilst there are many in our community who are older and perhaps don't understand English, what we recognize is that we want to be open for the future as well. And it needs to be something that is understandable regardless of your ethnic background. And therefore we chose English as the medium for all of our talks from a very, very early stage. We had a youth committee set up very early on because we wanted to recognize again that it's not just about the older generation who've done an amazing job in building this community up. It's also about the next generation of people who will be the leaders of the future. And how can we do that? By setting up a youth committee, by ensuring young people are part of the decision-making process from the early stages. And we then started working very, very closely on how we can ensure that we don't just cater for ourselves, but cater for the wider society. And that's where we've had a whole load of other types of activities, whether it's health screenings, whether it's iftar for the homeless, which we set up, whether it's working in new innovative ways to try and engage with wider society. And that's the kind of thing and the kind of community that we tried to become. If you go to the next screen, and that's one of the things that we've worked quite hard on in terms of working with other communities. Every couple of months we have grassroots interfaith partnership and meetings with the local churches. We have a couple of the members there, David Tuck and from the St Albans Church, and we work very closely, and with the Methodist Church as well. We also work with West London Homeless Churches Concern. Every year we provide volunteers for homeless work, working with the local churches there. Every Ramadan in the month that we fast, we work and we encourage people to come, and we have an iftar which is for everybody, open for everyone, and we do that quite regularly as well. And one of the very closest to my heart in particular events that we do, and this was set up by one of the women in our community initially, was this idea of us going to the local St. Albans church for midnight mass. So for I think it's 8 or 9 years now, every year about between 30 and 50 of us, and it varies year on year, go to the local church for midnight mass. And that's been something that's been very close to my heart personally, but it's also something that I think that we really treasure and we really value. And you know, we've tried to do different activities with our local communities in many different ways. If you go to the next slide. And those links are very, very powerful and very important. And we try and participate in many different ways, because those links with our communities actually that's how we become part of our society. When we have those engagements, we know that some of the things that people say about us aren't true. Many people say the best way to get rid of any misconception is by knowing someone, because you can just phone them up and ask. If you go to the next slide. And so we have had also one of the things that we think is very important is we're a community which is a predominantly Shia community here. But we think it's very important within the Muslim community to work very closely with our Sunni brothers and sisters in the local community. We work very closely with Harrow Mosque in particular, but also with the Sri Lankan Muslim Cultural Centre and Stanmore Mosque as well. And Stanmore is another Shia community. And so altogether, when we work together, we feel that's the best way to move forward. And we've had, for example, 13 years in a row, the local Sunni community was using our premises when we didn't have this makeshift site. 13 years that the community was using our facilities for the Friday prayer. And that shows, and we have some members of the Harrow Mosque there, you know, and this is something that's very close to us, because when we work closely together with communities, that's how we become stronger as a society. If you go to the next slide. And what we want to do is not just help and work together, but also support. And we've supported a range of different initiatives, whether it's financially, whether it's through manpower, through the work that we do and the volunteers we provide, or whether it's through another way, because we wanted to try and support all of these different causes, because they're close to our heart, they're aligned with our vision of being open and supporting the work that we do. And, if you go to, and that includes capital building and other projects which are like the Salam Centre in other places. And not only locally, we also try and help internationally, although our focus has always been local. And later on, I'll talk to you a little bit more about the Salam Centre itself, but which is our future and our vision for what we want to do in terms of engaging with the wider society. So hopefully that gives you a whistle-stop tour of the different things that we do here in our community. And I'm sure that if later on, if you have any questions, we can definitely talk through anything that might help. Thank you very much.